I'm delighted to have the chance to present the work today that I've done with my friend, my colleague, and most importantly, Yale class of '81, co-author Ian Ayres. This is from our book called Why Not? And the inspiration for today's talk comes from the line of George Bernard Shaw that Robert F. Kennedy made famous. Some men see things as they are and say, why? I dream of things that never were and say, why not? And that is a spirit that I'm going to try and recapture today, really going and problem solving, making the world a better place. Now, when I think about doing that, what I want to bring together is this Yankee Ingenuity, this sort of old-fashioned problem solving. Not that you need to have an engineering degree. I am from MIT, but that is not the approach that I want to take today. What I'm thinking about are ideas that could have been done 15 years ago, like right turn on red. In fact, actually, right turn on red, for the most part, does not exist in Europe. Now, I know why England doesn't have right turn on red, but... and so my objective today is to do the fun part of problem solving, the idea generation, the 1% inspiration, not the 99% perspiration. I know how hard it is to make ideas happen. In the time we have together today, I'm going to focus on coming up with great ideas. So my objectives are to inspire you, to help really energize you to go out and solve problems, leave this world a better place than we found it. I want to give you some tools that will help you do that. Because to the extent I can help routinize, mechanize, make formulas, make simple approaches to coming up with original ideas, that's going to make your job easier. That is, I'd like to be as non-creative as possible in being creative. So the more that I can mechanize the creative process, the easier it will be. I'm not trying to solve all problems, but I hope that we can solve many of them this way. Of course, I want to have fun. We're here on a Saturday. But I also think, as you'll hear from the discussion, that we really can change the world. That we've lost some of this approach to how can we do things differently and better. Part of our response has been to hibernate, to go back into our shell, and I'm suggesting that we're not going to solve our problems simply by going back to the way we did things. We really need to come up with new approaches, and I hope to help you in that today. The way we do this is twofold. Half the time we start with a problem and look for the answer. And in that approach, we have two headings. One is we ask, what would Croesus do? And this is a crowd who actually might know that. What would somebody with all the gold do? How would they go about solving the problem? And then the other approach we do there is, where are incentives messed up? Where is it that people are being led astray and doing things wrong because they've been given poor incentives? And then the second half, what we do is play Jeopardy. We start with the answer and then try and figure out what's the good question. And there what we do is we turn things upside down and we ask, where else would it work? Now, that's it, except you have to go ahead and make it happen. So what I'm going to try and do is illustrate these four approaches throughout the talk. To begin with problems in search of solutions, let me give you my first problem. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You're lying fast asleep. The phone rings. You pick it up, and you hear, ee! It is a fax machine calling your bedroom phone. What do you do? And since I'm a professor, I can call on people. So what do? You unplug the phone. The problem is you may have more than one phone in your house, and so the other phones in the house will start ringing 5 minutes later. You take the phone off the hook, yeah, but then it makes a different noise. Noise, right, which is also annoying. Sir? You turn on the computer, so that is, if you're really talented, you can kind of give your own back, and we're teaching that actually now in the language department, fax. So if you're really wide awake, you can plug in your own fax machine. You could call forward, I guess, to your office fax, or maybe to your ex-girlfriend or something, if you don't have that. Okay, so those are some solutions. Now, I claim none of those are really great solutions. So what I'd like to do is have you take this perspective of what would Croesus do, and for our modern day Croesus, we'll use Donald Trump. So how would Donald Trump solve this problem? Buy the phone company, okay, you know. By the way, actually when Howard Hughes was in his hotel and he decided, this was before the VCR, and he wanted movies to play, he actually bought the TV station in Las Vegas, called up the general manager and said, tonight let's watch Casablanca. And so, in fact, that was the originator of the VCR. Goodbye the phone company. What do we think he actually would do? Find a new wife. To answer the phone. Right. Get an unlisted number, but it wasn't that this person was calling the number by mistake, because it wasn't they knew his number and was calling with a fax. It was a mistake. I think the answer is he'd hire an apprentice, right? And somebody else would answer the phone for him. The problem with that approach is that we can't do that, right? It's not affordable for us. It's a great solution, it's just not practical. So the question is, who can we hire to be our apprentice? Who can answer the phone for us? An answering machine. The problem is an answering machine doesn't necessarily know which calls to let through and which ones not. An answering service, so doctors use that. And in fact, even the phone company could supply it because we don't need it that often. Or it could be outsourced to Inner Mongolia. They're awake at that time. Okay. So we've already come up with much better. I think we can go further. Who do we know is up at that time who could screen our calls for us for free? Outsource. Well, that's what we did. We outsourced Inner Mongolia. No, but who do we know will do it for free because they're up? Teenagers, yeah. India, so again, they're awake, but they won't quite do it for free. Who do I know must be awake if I'm getting a call? The caller. So why don't I have the caller screen my calls? Seems funny. Well, okay, how about this? It goes into voicemail, they hear the message, hi, you've reached the Trumps, we don't currently wish to be disturbed. If it's an emergency, hit 0, the phone will ring, we'll be mighty annoyed, so it better be good. Basically, I've given them all the instructions they need to be my call screener. It won't be perfect, but it'll be pretty good. The fax machine won't know how to get through, whereas emergency calls will know how to get through. Even the right number at the wrong time will know they should leave a message. And that technology already exists, right? Because we have hit 0, and the phone is transferred to my attendant. And since describing this product and this idea in Why Not, in fact, it now is a centerpiece of AT&T's internet telephony service, their VoIP service, Call Vantage, where their whole ad is about the mother in Italy who can't quite figure out what time it is in the United States. And so this service is really saving the family. Yeah, so the message is in Italian, I guess. So what would Clint Eastwood do in this circumstance? Right? Go ahead. Make my day. Now let me show you how we can use this approach to come up with new products. Mortgage refinancing is a real pain. Right? We have title insurance, appraisers, lawyers. How would Donald Trump figure out when is the right time to refinance his mortgage? I'm sorry, sir? But how does he know that rates are cheap now as opposed to what the yield curve is going to look like, how long the maturity is left on his mortgage, the cost of refinancing? I think it's pretty clear. He'd hire a group of MBAs to look at what the whole yield curve is going to be, the maturity of the mortgages, and figure out when the right time to refinance is. Buy some software. Okay, but hire Greenspan, now that he's available. So Trump might hire Greenspan. Who could we hire to figure out when we should refinance our mortgage? The bank, right? They're the obvious person. They have all the data. They have our mortgage. They know how long it is remaining, what the interest rates are. So that says we have a new product, the auto refinancing fixed rate mortgage, where the bank refinances our mortgage for us when rates drop. How many of you would like that product? Okay, so I've got 30, 40%. That's That'd be a heck of a market share. Now, I bet there are some bankers in this audience, right? And so what is your problem with that? Cuts into profits, okay, right? So did I say that I was going to give this away? No, I'm going to have the bank charge me for it. And they could charge me for it when the rates fall. They could say, look, I'm going to charge you an extra half point up front for this option. I'll charge you $1,000 when we do it. Or, I think better still, I'll split the savings with you. When rates fall by 1%, I'll cut your mortgage by 0.5%. And so, basically, instead of you having to worry and leave and and try and find the bottom, don't worry about that. You'll get close to the bottom. You'll never be too far away from the market. And that way, I'll never have to think about the problem. And so what we've done here is created a new product, a one-way adjustable mortgage, a mortgage which basically goes, if you want, 1 to 2. And the way we did it is we start off with a solution that comes from a Trump-like customer, and then try and modify it so that it's practical and economic. By the way, Citibank sort of does this today, which is a large number of mortgages in their portfolio are held. And if you call them up to refinance and they happen to be holding your mortgage, you don't have to go through all the trouble. They just do something called a modification. And that's actually terrific because you save the title insurance, the appraisers, and the legal fees and everything. The only thing they don't do is advertise the fact that they actually hold mortgages in their portfolio, and this is a great service. I'd like to pay them extra so that my mortgage is the one in their portfolio. So the product essentially is there. They just have to now tell us about it.
Does it work the other way when the mortgages go up, that they automatically?
So does it work the other way, that when rates rise, they would refinance your mortgage? So you think, oh, that's crazy. You know, why? Of course I wouldn't want to do that. Now that's called, in one sense, an adjustable mortgage, which goes up with it. The other, and you could even have an adjustable mortgage, which goes up 1/2 as fast, which would work. And they could give me a discount on that. So a semi-adjustable mortgage, if you'd like. You could also imagine them paying you money to refinance your mortgage when rates rise, because essentially they've lost money and they can incentivize you to pay off your mortgage, which you might be able to do. My point that I want to emphasize here is that in doing market research, we often go and try and follow the customer, do anthropology work in terms of looking at how people are using products in their home. And a different way of doing that is, instead of focus groups and market research, look at this customer in your head. Look at this incredibly empowered Howard Hughes, Donald Trump-like customer. Think about how they would solve the problem, and then go and make it practical. And I did this exercise just last week with Delta Airlines. And here's what we came up with to show you. How would Donald Trump get to the airport? Well, we know that answer. He's driven in a limo. And how does my wife get to the airport? Well, I drive her and drop her off. But that doesn't quite solve my problem. I'd like, the closest thing to that would really be valet parking. So that essentially I could go right up to the gate, not have to worry, or right up to the curb, deal with the bags, and they can bring my car away, and then they know when I'm coming back. They could actually have it there for me. And in fact, they could even park it in a distant lot, and it could be cheaper than, in fact, parking right next to the terminal, because I'm away for 5 days. And, you know, restaurants have valet parking. Why not airports? And you could start with that maybe for the premium travelers, the business class travelers. And it turns out for Delta, they've actually laid off so many employees that they now have a very large underutilized parking lot right next to the Atlanta airport.